Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne. And in this podcast, I share my real world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Now, today's show is a very special show because I have my author friend from social media, Shayla Raquel. Hi, Shayla.
Hello.
I've discovered her on Instagram. And I was so impressed with all of her fun and helpful posts and all her stories about her dogs and pictures because I'm a dog person too, of course.
Yes.
And so it's been a real treat to follow her. And now we've been connected on a couple other places other than Instagram. And so because she really works with more fiction. I work with nonfiction primarily. And so she works with fiction, so has maybe a little bit different perspective on publishing and self-publishing than I do. So I really wanted to have her on the show today to share her insights with everything. And she has a brand new book. You want to it's the 10 Commandments of Author Branding.
Yes, exactly.
I've read it. You've got to get it. You've got to get this book. It's a lot of practical advice. So you definitely have to check it out. But before we get going any further, let me get my list of questions here. And can you, I've given them a little bit of detail about who you are and how I found you. Just a 2-minute rundown about the work you do, author and editor and all that. Can you give us a quick review of what you do?
Sure. So I am an author, editor, marketer, self-publishing mentor, speaker, blogger, and just all around all of the abover. So if it has something to do with the book world, I most likely have my hands in it in some way, shape, or form. So yes, I do work on a lot of fiction. I love fiction. I do still work on a lot of nonfiction. It just depends. Sometimes it can be split right down the middle. Sometimes I'll have more nonfiction than novels. Other times I'll have more, like right now, I have more fiction than nonfiction.
Okay.
And if you talk to me like 2 months from now, it'll be different. So it just depends. But I have a total blast with it. This is my 10th year in the publishing world professionally. So I'm really, really excited about that. And I love working with self-published authors. I've worked with a lot of traditionally published authors as well, but self-publishing is just my expertise. It's something that I love, and I've self-published all of my books, and I love to teach authors how to find success with it. So that's kind of who I am in the book world. And then outside of the book world, I am the organizer. Well, I guess this is still the book world, but I am the organizer for the Yukon Writers Society here in Yukon, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. So I teach classes. I have a lot going on with that. And then on Fridays, I'm a volunteer chaplain for the Oklahoma County Jail. So if there is 1 hour, I will find something to shove in there. So I'm always busy. I'm always running around doing something, and I have never been bored my entire life. I'm pretty sure I haven't. So that is my 2 minute. That might be 2 minutes. I don't know.
Oh, I wasn't exactly timing it, but I was just doing.
Well, I timed it, I think, in my head.
But you have a lot going on, and it's really obvious from a lot of your posts that I see all the time. I mean, you just have so much going on, and you've got your hands in a lot of different pies, and you do it well. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
And at the beginning of your book, you ask authors if their books stink like rotten eggs.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Okay, so I don't even think I've actually told anybody this, but in the book, when I say stinks like rotten eggs, why? Like, most people have a pretty good idea of what that smells like, but Oklahoma, we have Sulphur, Oklahoma. That is an actual place. And the water is just crystal clear. It's gorgeous. It's the most beautiful thing ever, but it smells horrible. And so you have to get used to the smell so that you can enjoy the water. And it is the first time as a kid I fully grasped, like, man, that's what rotten egg smells like, right? So when I wrote this chapter, that's what I was thinking about, was Sulphur, Oklahoma. And basically, when you're talking about a book, I shouldn't pick up your book and read it and go, ugh, That's just awful. Like you don't want that. You want somebody to pick up your book and be like, this is like walking in a meadow as a fall breeze. Like that's what you want.
Right.
You don't want someone's senses to be assaulted when they dive into your book. I don't care what genre it is. Right. And so before you can ever do anything with marketing, like any of that, you have to at least have a book worth marketing. And a lot of people seem to not grasp that very well. No, so don't. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a book that stinks like rotten eggs. I have Sulphur, Oklahoma in the back of my head.
Yeah, I was wondering, I mean, here in Chicago, we have like days where things are not as great either. So, yeah. So we understand that, but it's good to have the background on why this particular smell was chosen.
Yeah, you never forget that smell, never. And that was the best way I could describe some of those books out there that are just totally atrocious.
Oh my goodness. And, and I'm an editor too. And some of them that I have seen are just ridiculous. I mean, I can't even. My
ultimate goal in life, even though I know I'll never get to do it because I'll get my pants sewed off, I want to create a coffee table book of the worst book covers I've ever seen in my entire life. But I can't do it because surely I would be sued for all I'm worth and more. But that would be the coolest thing ever.
It would be the Don't Let This Happen to You book.
Yeah, seriously. Don't wind up in my coffee table book. Oh, one day when I have nothing to lose.
They have those plaques that say, for writers, like watch out or you'll end up in my book.
Oh, yeah. Like, don't insult, or what is it? Like, don't get on a writer's bad side because we'll just kill you off in our novel.
Exactly. Or find some heinous way to deal with you.
Yep, we sure will. You do not want that. One of the coolest things I ever saw was blanking on who did it because it was a few years back. It was one of my authors, and she did her acknowledgments in the back of the page, thanking everybody. Oh, just beautifully written. The very last paragraph, it was a thank you to her English or writer professor, whoever it was, who told her basically that she sucked and that she wasn't any good, and told him, like, thank you so much for when you told me blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You enjoy this book, And I was like, yes, I love stuff like that. Oh, we are petty people. Writers are petty, okay? And we're very passive aggressive.
And it's hard to take constructive criticism.
Depending on who you are. I mean, yeah, some people, like, they cannot grasp it.
No.
For me, it's funny you say that because in the Yukon Writers Society, we do critiques. And so you submit something that's 2,000 words or below, and both sides, whether you're the one who submitted or the one who's critiquing, you have to follow our rules. You have to be constructive. You have to be kind, all that stuff. And I sent in the first chapter to a thriller novel that I've been working on, and I got frustrated because people were going like, oh, I loved it, and blah, blah, blah. And I finally was like, will someone please rip this thing apart and just tell me it sucks? And finally, my friend Allie goes, I have some ideas. And she said what I needed to hear. So there are the weirdos like me who love it, but the majority can't take it. You're right. And you've seen that as well.
Exactly, because they become, like really attached emotionally to the
nonfiction, especially.
Right. And you understand that. And I think memoirs, especially. And I know we could go down the memoir rabbit hole.
I've talked a lot about memoirs. Because it's their story. It's their life story. And so you have to be able to. I mean, I even started creating a bulleted list of things that I expect before I ever work on a memoir, because I finally learned my lesson after a decade. And
Oh yeah. You learn. And then, and then of course, I think memoirs are difficult to market because they are so personal, and they don't realize that it has to have a larger market. And that kind of gets into our next question is about branding. Okay. So under your first commandment of author branding, you said that what authors really mean when they talk about branding is that they want to sell lots of books. Yeah. Can you clarify what author brand and branding really mean?
Yeah, I mean, essentially what you're saying, when people come to me and they say, I want you to teach me about author branding, I want you to teach me about marketing, I want this. What they're really saying is, I have this book and I don't know who my target audience is and I don't know how to sell it. What do I do? Like, that's really what they're coming to me. That's what they're wanting to know. When you're talking about author branding, it is so simple. You, the author, are the brand and your book is the product.
Right.
Very straightforward. But then for some reason, we as authors can take that really simple thing and just make it very, 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 very complicated. Yep. So when you're trying to understand branding, you're trying to understand, how do I market this book? How do I brand myself as an author, et cetera, et cetera. For the love of all things pure and holy, just be yourself. Right. Be authentic. It's that simple. And I don't know why so many people don't grasp that. And this might not even be part of your questions, but for some reason it's in my head. I get the following a lot, especially when I speak. Every time there's always one person. I'll tell them, when you're doing your email newsletter, your blog, your videos, social, I don't care. Just be authentic, be yourself. Talk, like, branding means that I'm falling in love with you as an author, and then I want to buy your product, right? So how do you get to people to do that? You talk about your passions, your hobbies, your interests, behind the scenes as a writer, all that stuff. Inevitably, every time, and you know what's really weird? To my knowledge, it has never been a woman. It has always been a man. He will raise his hand and he will say, what if you're really boring and you don't have anything interesting? I'm not, come to my classes. It happens. And finally I go, you know, it's so weird, sir, because someone will always say this. And here's the thing, I can't fix your personality. Like, I don't know how to help you with that, because the first time it ever happened, I said, oh, that's not true. Surely what are some things you do in your spare time? I tried to kind of get a conversation going, and like, that guy would not budge. And so finally I'm just like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Make up some hobbies or something, because it's not all about your book. And I teach that a lot in 10 Commandments, because you know it. They'll just check out my book, review my book, buy my book, and you just go crazy because you're like, stop selling to me. What about, like, tell me about you as a person and why I should be interested in you and your books. So in a nutshell, that is author branding. Just be yourself, talk about the things that you love, and yeah, sure, tell us about your book, but make it interesting. Give me a reason to want to read it.
And I think it kind of goes into one of the next topics I think we were going to talk about is, like, you're so genuine and so genuinely funny and helpful on social media. And so you're a great role model for that. And you just answered the question of why people are afraid to be themselves on social media, is because they think they're boring.
Or they think that you might have this on there if they don't think they're boring. If it's not that, it's, well, I have a privacy concern, which I can answer that if you want, but I don't want to get ahead of anything. But that's a big one, is, no, I don't want to post this stuff on social media. No. My favorite one is, I don't want anything public on like, I don't want a public Facebook author page, a public Instagram account. I'm just going to use my personal ones. And I'm like, madam, there is no such thing as privacy on the internet under any circumstances. And people don't seem to grasp that. They think, no, I have everything set to just my friends list on Facebook. So I don't want to do the Facebook author page, Instagram. I don't want to do any of that. I want it private. And I'm like, that's a facade. That's not a thing. So that's one other issue I see. Okay. Privacy, or they'll have those really, every time, again, inevitably, especially at workshops, should I post photos of my kids on my, like, business pages? Should I post photos? That's good. Should I post photos of my family? Blah, blah, blah. And every time I say, I cannot make that decision for you.
Right.
That is entirely up to you. But again, if you're posting them anywhere else that you think is private, it is not private. So as long as you understand that, then we're good. Right. And then honestly, can I be a little, like, bold here? If you want to look like a robot to everybody, and not ever share anything about your family or friends or life, okay, fine. But again, that's not authentic. Right. It's not. Right. So that those are the main things. The ones who don't want to like post on social media, the ones who don't want to get too genuine, the ones who don't want to do that.
And you know what's funny about that?
Lower your expectations.
Exactly. And you know what's funny about that is the Latin root of to publish is to make public. So, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, when you publish, it means you're making public, you know, and they just don't understand it. And ironically, those folks also are the ones who want to sell the most books.
Oh, those are my favorite. My favorite ones are the ones who come to me and say, I want the bestseller stamp on my book for Amazon. And I'm like, okay. And I have a list of questions because like, I am boilerplate woman, you know, I've got this down. Like I have all these things I can copy and paste because I've learned my lesson. And so I'll ask them, I'll be like, do you have a website? Do you do anything like a blog, video, whatever? What are your social media URLs? Like, you know, I'll ask all those questions because then that can help me determine the chances of them getting to that status. Oh, I don't have any of that or whatever. And some of them that I have recently, they are just straight up saying, I'm not on social media and I don't want to be. And I'm like, okay, that's your decision, but it's not going to, you have to lower your expectations entirely. Because how are they going to find it? That's what I don't understand. How are they supposed to? So then you can come back and you can say, well, I don't need social media because I'm going to go use book promotion sites like BookBub, Book Gorilla, Fussy Librarian. I love those. I love them. They will not even consider you especially BookBub, unless you have a heck of a lot of reviews.
Oh yeah.
Heidi, how do we get reviews? Because usually it starts with people who know you and are familiar with you, familiar with your platform, tribe, community, whatever word you're comfortable with, and they do the reviews. So like, it's all a circle, and you have to. It's just crazy. You're gonna get me on my big ol'. I'm gonna get into my rant about because like you are such an excellent example of someone who, you know, you are not a millennial. Okay, you're not.
Oh no!
Like, and this is awesome. She's on TikTok and Instagram. She's just doing like killing it everywhere. You make no excuses. You're like, no, this is fun and cool. Like, look how this is so great. I'm on it. Let's do it. And I love that about you.
Well, you know, it's just, I think it's all a grand experiment too, because you never know like what's going to pop for your platform.
Exactly.
You know, you would think like people like me, the older, I'm a boomer, you know, of course. And you would think, you know, because I have a very business type profile and background, that LinkedIn would be my jam. And I will tell you, I have never gotten any traction with LinkedIn, and I just don't get it.
Where do you get the most traction?
Right.
Where do you get
one? I get like a lot of traction with Instagram and Facebook. And you know, I track all the Google Analytics and stuff, and Facebook just like kills it. I mean, it is amazing.
And so where are we at? Are we at 2 billion active users? Over 2 billion, not users, active users. That's unbelievable. And then with them owning Instagram, you've got 1 billion active on Instagram.
And Instagram is another great place that I have met a lot of wonderful new people, including yourself.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think what's interesting about Instagram is that it relies solely on photos. Yeah. And so when it's very clutter free. And so for those of you who are listening and you're not really sure on social media, I would start with Instagram, honestly, because Facebook is a whole other type of beast. Instagram, very, very simple. And a lot of my baby boomer clients, I've got one right now, Lynn Wyville, she does poetry. And she's been trying everything. She's just having a bad time with Facebook. And she's like, but I love Instagram. I never thought I'd ever say that. Right. I love it. And so she's having a blast with it. That said, when you're looking at, you know, being on a platform like Instagram, what are they going to do? What happens when somebody finds your book, right? Right. Not like 8 times out of 10, especially if they're on Instagram, they're going to snap a photo of it. They're going to tag you in it. They're going to write a review. They're going to tell you, hey, this is what I'm reading. I finally got to the point where I just started, like, I would share those photos of my books to my story and then save them to my highlight. because it was like an emotional experience to see people reading my book all over the world. Yeah. I mean, that you can't, nothing can take, I mean, that's the cool, I can't even put it in words. That's the coolest thing in the world. So think about what you're missing out on when it comes to branding, when it comes to all that, if you have cut the lifeline to your readers.
Right,
exactly. Things you're missing out on. I mean, like seeing I saw the suicide tree at the Bellagio. I saw my suicide tree in Greece. Oh, wow. And I've saved those photos, and I'm like, this is just the coolest thing in the world, you know? And so my thing is with branding, all that, don't take out social media just because you think you're boring or you think there's privacy concerns. Do your research and then and honestly, that's why that first chapter, I have you guys fill out some questions. Who am I really? Why would somebody want to hang around me? Like, what is it that makes me interesting, fun, educational, whatever? And then I always push it. I'm like, tell me about your passions and hobbies. That's what makes people crazy about you.
Exactly. And it changes over time too. Like Twitter was big for me. Like,
oh yeah, and talk about a pivot in the social media world. Now, goodness. Twitter is news first. If you see something on Facebook that's news, it's already been on Twitter for hours and hours and hours.
Right. Totally. And that's it. And we used to have a lot of conversation. I used to moderate a lot of like Twitter chats and all that kind of stuff. And now I met so many amazing people there. And now they've all moved. It was funny because I kind of backed off of Instagram. I was on it like the first time it came out, and I couldn't because I didn't really I don't have a visual type of business, and so I let it go for years. And then I found that all my Twitter friends had moved over to Instagram. So
I mean, it's just, you have to be willing to go with the flow. And I think the reason so many people hate social media marketing is why I love it. I love it because it's always changing, always evolving. It's a challenge, and that's why I love it so much. Other people, oh Lord, that's why they hate it. Exactly. They don't want to have all this change. But I think that if you have people like yourself or me or all sorts of other people out there that I could name that are trying to keep you educated on it, then you really don't have an excuse. You have people who can teach you what to do.
Exactly. Because like I said, you're a great role model for that. And skipping to a later part in the book, you note that you've gone away from using the official book launch team. Now, of course, I have done like rants on that, of course, too. But I know, I want to hear why you don't think they work now and what you think authors should do instead.
I get asked that a lot. So it was really shocking to a lot of my author clients for me to pull out of that entirely. So let me tell you what happened. So I had the entire chapter. I think it was chapter 9, Commandment 9 is what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. So I wrote the entire thing about the book launch team. I had the entire thing ready, and it was supposed to be turned into my editor within 2 days. And if you scroll back to that time, you'll find photos of me looking totally psychotic because I realized I can't publish this. I cannot publish this. I cannot tell these people to go do a book launch team when I don't think they work anymore. And so I had to rewrite the entire commandment in 2 days. And my editor was like, I'll give you more time. And I was like, no, I set a deadline. You set a deadline. It's part of our contract. Don't take it easy on me just because I'm going to do this. So rewrote it. All right. So let me rewind a little bit more. Bill McCurry is an author client of mine whom I adore with every fiber of my being. And I could reach out, I could grab his book right now, but he writes dark fantasy and it is wildly humorous. And his series is Death's Collector. It is unlike any other series I've ever read. Like, you will die of laughter when you read it. Well, he was at Dallas Fort Worth Writers Conference, which I love that conference, DFW Con. And my friends and I, we all went out to grab a burger, and he went with us. And I guess I had been talking about it or something online, talking about how I'm not going to be recommending them anymore. And he goes, I have to know, why you are not recommending the book launch team. Because it was just, because that's what my big thing was for like, goodness, years. And so, and people knew that I would create book launch teams for you, bring in all these people, So he had to know. So I will tell him what I told you. They don't work anymore. All of that backstory to tell you they don't work anymore. So this is what happened. A lot of people didn't really, it was kind of like a new thing, but people started kind of paying attention. They were getting involved in these book launch teams. And basically it was usually a Facebook group. The way that I set it up, it was a Facebook group, and you brought in the author's friends, family, like email newsletter people, social media, as many people as you can in that Facebook group. And that's going to be your book launch team. From there, those people are going to have certain things that they need to do. So it can be reading the book ahead of time, having arcs, whatever, interviewing the author, doing blog tours. They're going to eventually buy the book on launch day, which will help the sales, all that fun stuff, write reviews. It all sounds great, right? Except it really started to catch on, almost like a disease of some kind. And then before you know it, everyone's doing it. And the people who are inside of the book launch teams, it's like a job and it's not fun anymore. And so the engagement just dropped like crazy. And I saw it with definitely the last 2 times that I did it. And I was like, what is going on? And then I really started to do a lot more research and realized this isn't working anymore. And I got to stop recommending it. And that was hard. But like we said earlier, things change, things evolve. And so what I wound up doing is totally rewriting that commandment and teaching people all about the beast that is Amazon, and helping them understand how to infiltrate it, so to speak, how to get as many sales as possible. Like I don't recommend pre-orders anymore. I did that with
I don't either.
I don't recommend pre-orders. So I had to totally and utterly just change my entire method of that. And so now when I do book launches, I don't do a book launch team. It's going to be about your newsletter. It's going to be about bloggers and reviewers. It's going to be about honestly putting a lot of energy into Amazon, book promotion, newsletters, stuff like that. So I know that was a long answer, but I get asked that a lot, and I haven't really been able to just word vomit the whole reason, like why that came about. So that is how that happened.
Yeah, I know, because I've been, and I just see it's almost contrived in a way with so many authors. It's just, it doesn't feel genuine to me in a lot of cases. And then
it did at one point. It was fun and neat. Not anymore.
Just like anything, it has its day, and then it just doesn't work anymore. So it's trying to be flexible in what you do in terms of not only what you publish, but in terms of how you market it. And I think that's one of the key things to take away from your book. So if people want to connect with you, buy your new book, and I know you have a great freebie to give away if they opt into your email newsletter. Speaking of newsletters, tell us more about how we can connect with you in the future.
Okay, so really cool thing. Over the years, I've always had the pre-publishing checklist. That's been my freebie since 2015. And of course it gets updated every like 6 to 9 months. In fact, I have to update it again because things change. So that's very easy to get. And when you guys are watching this, you'll have a link straight to it.
Right, exactly.
When you subscribe, you don't just get the pre-publishing checklist anymore. I don't even really advertise it, but you wind up getting the pre-publishing checklist. And then your next email, you get novel binder printables. It's really cool, and a lot of my friends and clients have used it. In fact, I even stumbled upon somebody using it once on YouTube, but you can print out this novel binder stuff. It's so cool. It's a really cool thing that I made. It's really beautifully designed. That's a freebie you get. And the third freebie is you get the first 3 chapters of the Suicide Tree to read. So you get a lot of freebies when you sign up, because I try really hard to give as much value as I possibly can.
Sure.
And the final thing, when you're subscribed to my email newsletter, honestly, there are people out there they don't do a great job with email newsletters. And so I try really, I will spend hours on my email newsletters. In fact, one goes out this Thursday, and I strive really hard to just email once, maybe twice a month, but definitely once a month. And I try really hard to make sure you guys get to read stuff before anybody else does. For example, I did an interview with Brian Foster, who works on Houston homicide as a detective for years and years and years. He had worked with a few serial killers, and I had interviewed him. Wow. So the only people who got to read that were the people on the email newsletter. And it wasn't until months later that I moved that into a Medium article. Wow. So the only people who got to read that. So I try really hard to treat you like a VIP.
Wow. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Well, and of course, follow you, and I'll include all the links to to find you on social. Because I know you have the Facebook group for authors, and you have your Instagram and TikTok and all this stuff. So we'll include all the links so that you can connect with the pro that Shayla is here. So again, this has been awesome.
Well, great. Yeah, thank you for your really amazing questions. I love them. I love seeing you on social media because you seem to have such a blast with it, which is how it should be.
It should be.
Yeah, you guys can connect with me TikTok. I've just been having a blast making crazy videos, and sometimes they're writing related, sometimes they're not. I have a blast with that. And then I've been doing Instagram is always going to be a lot of book reviews, a lot of dogs, a lot of behind the scenes. Facebook is usually going to have, links to my blog articles, or they're going to have what I call micro blog posts. And so they're only on my Facebook page usually. Okay. And then I've been recently doing a lot of new articles on LinkedIn. So I do different things on different platforms.
Again, it's all that part of that experimentation that you have to keep doing all the time, because publishing is changing dramatically over these years. And you have to be able to pivot and reinvent yourself continuously. So So this has been wonderful.
Thank you for having me. Seriously, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
You are welcome. And again, if you liked content like this, please rate, review, and subscribe to The Heidi Thorne Show, which is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. And of course, I'm on YouTube. You just have to subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel. Thank you again, Shayla, and thank you for listening, everyone. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode. And in the meantime, have a great day.